user interface. Graphical simply because it can display graphics. And the only reason it's called graphical user interface was that historically back in the 80s when I started computing, computer screens were text-based. They couldn't display graphics. They could only show characters, like the old banking terminals and things like that. That's all that was available. The whole concept of more power in these devices that enabled graphics to happen only happened in the late 70s. And so the graphical user interface came out. It's defined was a thing called Win, which denoted it, which was Windows, meaning that you pop up Windows, not Microsoft Windows, but you pop up Windows on the screen. You have icons, you have menus, and you had pull down. Back in the 80s, that was the start of the GUIs. That was what defined what a GUI, what the characteristics of a GUI was. It was a big deal, the WIMP interface. No one really knows about that anymore, but you know what windows are, you know what icons are. On the desktop, there's a look at icons. I hate icons, so I keep the desktop clear anyway. Menus, I have a pop-up, whereas I get pop-up down there. So these days we have more things. We have things like panels and what have you. And as you can see, you can completely configure your interface to however you like, if that's what you want to do, sort of thing. Same on your mobile phone, there's no difference. You can tell it how you want it to look, sort of thing. But having got that up, there's really only one important thing for most people that they want to start up, and that in my case is right there, and that's the web browser. Because in this day and age, everything you do is up on the web. You don't have to download any software anymore. You go to a website and all the software is there on the back end, it's called, back there on the website. All you do is start up, run a browser, and the whole world will exist for you through a browser. Same way as with a mobile phone, you're not really, and these devices, these have little bits of software on them. This is a really cheap tablet, only cost $150 from Hong Kong last year. It's kind of slow, but I can do all of that stuff, only a little bit slower.
You don't have iPad as such,
well,
you have the Raspberry or something.
There are small screens coming out now about that size.
So you actually have
because they're LCD, you can buy the LCDs that are the technology that are going into tablets. But at that point, if you want that sort of
because if you travel around,
mobility, you're better simply to get a tablet like one of them or an Android-based one.
So basically, it's like for home use or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you have a monitor at home, isn't it?
Yeah, well, a TV typically. Because most TVs, including even this old one, this is like, I don't know how many years old because we got given it, so that's how we get half our stuff. But this one's got a HDMI port. HDMI, just to give you an idea, talking about screen technology, in computers there was, there's those coloured pens on here. Black. Okay. There was VGA for many years on computers, right? And then we had this DVI thing, digital video interface, that came out, and it's on the back of this one, I think, and it's on the back of this as well. And that's basically a digital higher performance, higher resolution thing than VGA. But it's still only V for video. It's only for video. There's no multimedia. Okay? A few years later, HDMI came out, high definition multimedia interface, and that is what this is. This is the typical plug for it, and that also has audio. So this is a HDMI monitor. We could play a YouTube clip, and it's got a couple of speakers in here. So the one little cable, which is that one, that skinny little one there, is the HDMI. That's HDMI coming out of there. It's a micro HDMI port right there. So that's this one's HDMI cable. So that will do video as well as audio combined.
Yeah.
Multimedia in the context of this means both video and audio are going out, in this case down a single cable to typically a single device that can play the sound and show the video.
Yeah.
Just to digress slightly, this Linux operating system has got a concept inside it. I'll just briefly explain this because it might be confusing to people. But when you start up any modern operating system, including Linux or Unix operating systems, you can start up a thing called a virtual machine, and inside there install a copy of Microsoft Windows, and therefore you can then run Windows programs, because the Windows programs are real Windows programs running a real Windows operating system that thinks it's controlling the machine, but in fact it's being isolated and cocooned by the virtual machine software inside this host operating system. And that's what I've done for years. I had to run MyOp for many years, hate Windows with a passion, so at worst I just build a virtual machine of it just so I can run my MyOp.
So you just pay for the disk, is that right? And then
You
just
still
run
have
the
to
disk.
pay for it, you go and buy it, you go and install it, you stick it in the CD, you install it into this Windows, but the Windows is actually just popped up here as.
So most of us
window.
here, if we did choose to put a Microsoft program into that, we just go and buy the Microsoft disk and then plug it and just play it in there to feed it in.
That's right. Start the virtual machine up, so
Yeah.
and then up pops this thing which you can expand to full screen, and it looks like just running all.
And so anytime you want, you can just switch over to a Windows program and then back to the normal.
That's right. You just hit a key and go just the same way you swap Windows right now with the Alt tab. You can go around different Windows by pressing Alt.
And that would be a big cost anyway, wouldn't it? Because the Microsoft Windows disk would probably cost as much as all of that together, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Linux is free.
Yeah,
Linux and all Linux software is all free, and always will be.
And do you operate a business program? You were just about to say that.
Yes. Well, up on the internet now is a thing called Xero. Xero. You go to xero.com. And it's now this is the way the world's going, that software now is all being built and presented up on a website. So you go there and you log in and you can get a free copy of Xero. By free copy, a free subscription into it. So you can run your accounts, but you're through your browser.